Okay, welcome everyone. It's nice to see you. We are just surviving the last class of the week. We are all very tired, but nevertheless, it's worthwhile being together, having this time for reflection. So we just wanted, again, once, a million times, revise, please, your portfolios. Forum postings, there is a deadline for these evaluation items. So please bear that in mind. Just because we are in a hurry to finish them. We have class.
Mi, se apagó el micrófono.
Hey, what happened? Why was that?
Ahora sí.
So that was strange. And we were in the middle of the recording. Okay, so I do not know, some things can happen. And Zoom has been acting strangely lately. So as I was saying, I cannot stress enough the importance of keeping your portfolio, your tasks, participation in the forum, just because as we are going to see now, evaluations are around the corner. So deadlines. And at this time of the semester, we need to have deadlines. There is no other way, so that we keep on track in order to finish all of the evaluation items that we have committed to finish. One important thing, well, today, again, we are very thankful for participation of Professor Greg Knowles. He's a middle school teacher and he's on holiday. Therefore, they have more time. So more colleagues have the time to share with us because just our schedules are very different. And sometimes during the semester, it's more difficult. Also, the script draft for the second reflective video needs to be done this weekend. It was already, the folder was already created on week 12 for you to upload your first script. If possible, I will try to give you two. So I give you feedback twice so that you're sure your piece is well written, and then you can practice and record the video. So please bear in mind we have that deadline coming because the second video is due in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, yes, on the 25th. Yes, questions? It's the second reflective video. Remember, we have 2 videos here. So the project was composed of 2 reflective videos. One at the middle of the semester that we finished by mid-May, and the second video due in 2 weeks by the end of, almost the end of the second semester, when we finish practicum. Remember that week will also be the last practicum class in the week starting 21st of June. So this is the video, the second reflective video, just showing is very, I mean, you have the same instructions, but now you're of course referring to the ending of your practicum. You see in retrospection what you have seen, what you have observed, the situations you have experienced, and therefore you have another view of what you did in practicum. So that's why we wait for that second reflection. All of the students doing practical experiences are doing the same, with the difference that we're doing in English. And therefore, but also in Spanish, students prepare a script. So I think having a script is always something necessary for us to practice and be sure of what we want to say. Speaking impromptu is a skill that needs to be practiced and developed, yeah, even in our mother tongue, I think. So you have the opportunity to, you will have the opportunity to do the same in Spanish. The next deadlines are, well, one after the other. Forum participation, very beginning of July, portfolios by the 9th of July. So we really have a little time to accomplish with all of these evaluation items. So please bear them in mind. Also bear in mind that we have 6 task documents up to this moment. Last week, I uploaded the last one, which is task document 6. It refers to the topics that we were discussing. Do you remember institutional guidelines? And therefore we need to complete and hybrid methodology. Therefore, we will need in this occasion, we will need you to contact your mentor teachers, have an agreement with them in order to ask the questions that we produce together. And those are part of this last task. So that is why you need to keep still working on the portfolio, and you will have time to finish it by the 9th of July, I'm sure. And now the other one is the reflective video. As we said, this is the last video in which you see in retrospection everything you have done, and it will be due on the 25th of June. But I can start revising your scripts this week and next week, just for you to be sure of what you're going to present there. Okay, and those are the evaluation items that are refer to your responsibility, especially your responsibility, your participation in the forum, your projects, and your portfolios. The rest of the items are in charge of the mentor teacher, are in my charge and the mentor teachers, and therefore they will complete your grade for the semester. So time flies, do not sleep on the tasks, because we really need to be finished soon. So any questions regarding evaluations? Everyone is clear?
Teacher, in the new video reflecting is the practicum, the
Practicum, yes. This
okay.
last part of the practicum experience.
Okay. And the same from the first?
Well, it will, hopefully it will be different, because now you are near the end of the experience. You see, you will see there is a change or an evolution that we need to see now that you're finishing your practicum. Do you follow, Javiera?
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yes. So if you see retrospection now that you're going to finish, then you have another view. You analyze your experience from the point of view of finishing that experience. So it should be a little bit different. Remember, you're positioning yourselves finishing this experience. Okay, as you remember, we have the winter games. We have been talking, yes, in the different practicum groups. We have been showing the short video to children. Teachers seem to be very enthusiastic about this participation. And we have even talked to the university so that we can find some kind of presents for schools, for schools participating. So I hope in this, with this new offer, they will participate, hopefully. This week, we will start a new week of promotion, let us say, for the Winter Games. And of course, we also have the support of the school, of the College of Education, and the Vinculación con el Medio, people that working in Vinculación con el Medio or outreach, just to get to the schools and get the this activity promoted. Okay, just as we have talked last week, For these winter games, we need your participation. Students in second year are also creating their activities, the same activities they create for different tasks, and we will adapt them together for activities that children can do that day when they connect with us to play mainly, or just to do some kind of different kind of activity that they do in the classes. So we have this week we have the collaboration of Camila and Daniela. And for next week, we will have Araceli, Javiera, and let me check, we will need someone else. Barbara? Hello?
Hello, Miss.
Yes. So next
About the
yes, we can have also your the sharing of an activity from your group.
Do you want that with Javiera present our presentation for the Winter Games?
Yes, but for next week.
Ah, yes, no problem.
Okay, perfect.
So the next week with with Javiera and Lucas, we will present our game.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. No problem, Miss.
And also Javiera and Araceli. Remember, we will be running short of time. And then I will talk also to Alejandra and Eileen and Griselda and Genesis. We will see if probably for the last day, we will have some revision also of their activities. Okay, so everyone has the opportunity. If anyone else wants to present next week, please let me know. And you can do it. Yes. Okay. Now we have Camila and Daniela. Are you there? Are you down there?
Yes. Daniela me dijo que estaba llevó a su hija al baño y venía al tiro.
Ajá. Okay.
Dani, ¿llegaste? Todavía no llega.
Sí. Llegué.
Ahí llegó.
We're here. We're waiting. Okay.
Ya, la Dani comparte.
Okay, thank you.
Un segundo, por favor, comparto el tiempo.
Yep. Can you share, Daniela? Yeah.
Can you see the screen? My screen?
Yes.
Right. Well, this activity is to warm up of winter games, and we use these topics that is verb to be, the use of verb to be, and a little activity with this content, and a game that we can play with the children of the different schools that participate in this activity.
Okay.
Well, in the verb to be exists how I say formula.
Formula.
Formula to affirmative form to create sentences. In this, we have a subject and verb to be and the complement. For example, in the first sentences, we can see the sentence says, I am a student. and then he, she, or it is and yours. And then you, we, they are good friends. In here, we can see in the first time the subjects, the pronouns.
But you need to change the slide, Daniela. You are showing the first slide and we cannot see the sentences.
No se cambia.
No. There. Now, yes. Yes.
Ahí,
Now,
ahora sí.
yes.
Yeah, okay. In here you can see the subject of the pronouns. That is I, he, she, it, you, we, they. And the verb to be depends of the subject. For example, when you use I, subject, o sea, pronoun I, you can, o sea, you use the verb to be, put am. And the second case, he, she, or it, you need put is. And the last, when you use you, we, or they, you need put are or use are, and then the complement. In the negative form is the same, but you need use a not or put aren't, isn't to complete the sentence. And in the last, in the interrogative form, you need put in the first time the verb. For example, when you use the pronoun I, you need put am, I. And then the complement with the interrogative sign. Now, Camila, explain this part of the content.
And also, we mostraremos, we show who, what, when, where, we, why, which, whose, and how. And the who is used to ask the person who did the action. An example is, who is the president of Brazil? What is used to ask for information? An example is, what does the sentence mean? When used to ask the time of an event or action. An example is, when can I see you again? The question for where is used to ask for the location. An example is, where were the keys? Why used to ask for a reason or cause. An example is, why did you break the glass? Which is used when there is a choice. An example is, which author which author do you enjoy? Who is used to show.
Listen.
An
We
example
cannot
is,
hear you.
if they don't have a clue. And finally, question word is how. Is used to explain a process. For example, how do you learn English? And now we can.
No podemos. We cannot hear you, Camila.
Now you hear me? Okay.
Yes, now yes.
Oh, okay. Now we play a game about the question words and the verb to be.
Okay.
I share Tani or you?
Daniela, we need to change this slide. Yeah.
I can Chair, I have the games in here. Thank you.
Okay. I need to change the host then. So Camila, you will be the host. Now we can see Camila. Camila?
Now,
Alright,
yeah.
we are here. Yes, we are here.
Okay. You see the game?
Grammar WH questions. Yes.
Okay. The first game is about the question words.
Mhm.
The game is about the replace the wrong word with the right word.
Mhm.
For example, say in these sentences, what is your birthday? My birthday is on 2nd March. But the wrong word is what? Because the right word is when. When means cuando. So when is your birthday?
Okay.
So
So the girls can tell you.
yes. Now my classmate tell me the answer. What's your birthday? My address is Pablo Pelayo 9. So what is the right word and the wrong word?
What is right and what is wrong?
Somebody?
Yeah. There you go.
Giselda, can you answer the question?
Yes. Thinking and you. Yes. I know. No. Oh, okay, you need to be awake. Come on. Griselda, Genesis, Javis.
Anyone?
Javieras.
Maybe is my name is Pablo Pelayo or not?
Okay.
What is your
No.
In the
name is
question.
Pablo Pelayo.
Put your attention in the question, Araceli.
Address,
Okay.
the first one.
What's your
Address.
birthday?
Okay.
Your birthday.
Yes, it's correct.
What's your address? My
Okay.
address is
Yes, you need to be awake. Come on.
Yes.
How old are you? I am 9 years old. So what is the wrong
Years,
word?
it's years. 34 years.
I am 9 years old.
This one. Cherries, yeah.
Good. What's your name? My friend is Tom. So what is the wrong word?
From.
Name, from.
Name.
Name.
Yeah, okay. There was a moment of
Good.
silence here.
What's your age number? My telephone number is 3005.
Telephone.
What is the wrong word?
H.
And the last. Where are you from? I am from Maria.
Spain.
Maria.
Spain.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, wonderful.
Um,
Yeah, so you need to be awake for this game.
We have a second game. That is the verb to be.
All right. So we really need to be awake. So the older children, I think 6th, 7th grade will enjoy this game.
Okay. And this game is choose the right word to complete the conversation. So in this, we have a 3 option. Is are. And here also we have a 3 option. So the first option is Tammy and Rita in the classroom. What is the option? What is the right word?
R.
Are.
Ah,
Okay. The,
yes.
the second.
Okay. Mhm.
Aren't.
No, they am not. They aren't. They is
Aren't.
not.
They aren't.
Yeah, right. Lovely.
And the last, they they are.
Are.
They are.
They are.
Okay. We
Yeah.
see. Good.
Mhm.
Other. What is? Are, or is?
Is.
She happy? Is she happy?
Yes.
Okay. No, she.
Isn't.
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 And the last, she.
Is.
She's.
Sad. She is.
We see. Brilliant.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
terrific. Awesome.
Are
What
you?
is the are? Are you 8 years old?
Mhm.
No. I.
I'm not.
Okay. And the last, what is?
I am.
Good. And the last, what is? You're from Madrid. You from Madrid? Are you from
Are.
Madrid? Or
Are.
is? Are.
Are you from
No, I am. I aren't. I am not. I isn't.
I am not. I am not.
Yeah.
And the last, I am from
I am.
Toledo. I am. I am.
I am. Excellent.
Great.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Camila.
And
Yes, great. So, yes, later we can have some arrangements. So I think you have two possibilities. One with the questions with are, which are more simpler ones, probably fifth, sixth graders. And the other one with the question words, what, when, where. Probably we will need, yes, a price, of course, we will have prices. We will need to probably reduce the amount of possibilities, yes, for example, what, when, where, how old, yes, for probably those are, I think, the most used by these children. So great, great, so we can have two activities that we can edit later to have them ready so that they participate from probably in groups according to the division we have, the amount of people, and they can just write something on the chat, for example, to say they want to participate, and so their group earns the points. Okay, yes, great, great, thank you. And going back to the presentation, thank you, girls. So the idea is like that, probably a short presentation and yes, a possibility that they play, interact, and probably also make mistakes, but everything is a little bit different from the rest of the days. Okay, so as we were talking in last class, we had a section of task document 6 talks about the institutional guidelines that you have observed or inquired about in the institution. So have you talked to your mentor teachers yet? Have you, or you have not, probably? We asked them questions regarding their positioning towards technology, remember, inclusion in the classrooms, preparation of teachers. So I think those are important pieces of information for us to complete the background of the schools where we are doing the practicum on the one hand, and on the other hand, a way to complete the picture, yes, of what we know about the school and how they work with children. So I remember that there were certain task. So let me show you task document 6, which I think you haven't seen completely. And remember, you already know certain guidelines, whether the schools are religious or secular, whether they have a special mission and vision to accomplish, a special purpose, special kind of population they serve. So always take into account that you know something, but you need to find out some other, probably information about some other areas. Take into account the institutional guidelines, the community, the relationship to the community, the population, that means the population they work with, how do they take care of interculturality, technological access, diversity, and inclusion. So here we have the different questions that we brainstormed for the mentor teachers. The relationship between school and community. Remember that each school can have their own policy, their own guideline on how they connect to the community and how they take into account that community that surrounds them. So how are the relationships among parents and the school community? How does the school relate to the community around it? Yes, the community around. Interculturality, which are the steps that are used to promote interculturality in the school. Remember the relationship, the exchange between different cultures. And that does not only mean people from different countries, but also people from different religions, political viewpoints, and other different kinds of cultures within the school. Technological background, how do teachers prepare themselves to develop their competencies in technology to apply in the classroom? Remember that we have seen different levels of technological development with the teachers we have had the opportunity to work. Inclusion, how does the institution proceed to create an inclusive environment? And teaching and learning, what are the strategies to be followed when students do not have interest in learning a topic, especially now that we are working virtually and then mainly the whole semester has been done almost only virtually. Okay, then some information about hybrid education, something we watched last class, some other websites to read, and the questions for Professor Greg, who is coming soon to visit us. So you will need to take notes. This will be recorded, of course, just to complete this section of the task. So now you have seen task 6 in its complete form, and that's the last task up to now that we have. Okay, so here is our introduction. So I found this wonderful photo that was taken by Liselda. Liselda had it in her portfolio when she reflected about her process of learning English or becoming a teacher, one or both. And therefore I asked her for permission to display it here because it's good that we have some faces here. And that photo is so fresh, so nice. You're beautiful, you look beautiful. So that is nice to share. Here we have the questions. So you will take turns to ask the questions. And take notes, but then you can also check the recording according to fill in your answers. Remember, please, that you keep on working in your lesson plans. So we are finishing. We have almost, well, we have this week, this coming week, and we will be finishing the practicum. Therefore, please check that you have your lesson plans ready for the portfolio. And of course, task 6. with the information that you will gather today with Professor Greg and in the week with your mentor teachers. And always the reminders that your portfolios, if you still want me to see them, they can be uploaded to week 10. Your second script, you can upload to week 12. Your complete task document can be found in week 12 as well. And the lesson plans that I am always correcting and giving you feedback to correct and have them ready. Okay, so those are the reminders, the general reminders we have for every class. We will have some time to go to a short break until we meet our guest speaker. Do you have any questions, any doubts about upcoming evaluations and requirements and tasks? Any questions?
Sorry, Miss, but the Professor Greg will give us a presentation, or we should establish a conversation with
It
him?
would be good because we have the questions. He also knows the questions.
Mhm.
And therefore we can take turns to ask questions, and he will probably show. He said he has some materials to show. He commented that this morning, and so you take notes, and also anything that you want to ask, any follow-up question, we can ask him. Yes, so it would be a conversatorio. So it's a conversation. It's not just a
And,
presentation.
Miss,
Yes.
the next week, to
Next week.
14 at 18, we will end the practicum.
We and the practicum at schools finishes on the week of the 21st.
Oh, okay.
That
So
I think
the-
different teachers might have a different approach. Probably you will be doing something on Tuesday. I think teacher Matias mentioned. Probably you will be doing something on Tuesday that week. I'm not sure.
yes,
Yes,
uh,
and then
yes,
that's the last, but that's the last class. That will be 22nd, 23rd. So that's the last class. So you still
okay.
have 2 more classes. Yes, so that we organize
Wow.
ourselves. Yes, and well, mentor teachers are okay. I think they. I need to remind them anyway, and well, I think they won't have any issue, and then they have to complete the evaluation. I will check that as well. So we will take turns to ask questions, and we can also ask further questions so that it's not just one person speaking. So it will be good for you if you want to ask any other question, any doubt. How did the children react with this methodology? Anything that you think relevant. Okay. So again, with the information from schools, remember again the different guidelines that we were talking. So they talk about institutional guidelines, relationships to the community, interculturality, diversity, and inclusion. If you want to ask about any other issue, that's okay as well. All right, so we will go to have some tea, bring some tea, something to share, and we will be connecting in 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, I will wait for you. See you then.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Okay, so we have here, well, as you know, we have prepared some questions with the students. But we would like to introduce you our class. Just to say in general, as a general description, this class, in this class, students study is a class of the elementary school education program. These students will be elementary school teachers working with the children from 6 to around 12 years of age. And therefore, they will be able to teach all of the classes in elementary school, plus the addition that they have a minor in English. Therefore, they also have as a part of their curriculum to learn English at higher levels of standards of proficiency. And also they do an English practicum module with me that we will be finishing in 2 more weeks. And so now we have Liselda, one of our students, introducing the class. Please, Liselda.
Yes, I'm here. Good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure for us to have the opportunity to talk with you, Professor Greg. In this class, there are students of the 2018, and 2017 generation who are attending the English practicum module. During our practice, we have acquired different enriching experiences for our professional future. We have done online classes and we have looked for different applications to incorporate in our classes. And today we are here because we are really interested in knowing and learning about the hybrid methodology, since it might also be adapted at our university for future semesters, as well as at the schools we do our future practicum. Sorry, I feel a little anxiety.
It's okay. It's okay, Lisetta. Thank you. Yes, so hybrid education has come to stay, and there is a possibility that we will be doing that on campus next semester, depending on the situation. And also students might be themselves in a situation of having to attend schools and do their practicum by using this methodology. So since we have not had the opportunity to have this live experience up to now, we have invited our guest speaker. So welcome, Greg. Thank you for being with us. It's a great pleasure. So we are all ears. We will take notes and probably ask you further questions if we have any doubts.
Okay.
I've not heard well. Okay, so the first question, I will start. How was the hybrid methodology system applied at school, at your school, and how often was it applied in the week? Was it every day of the week or was it just only some days of the week?
We had 4 days of hybrid instruction per week.
Okay.
We had a Wednesday where Wednesday was an asynchronous day. So students did their lessons on their own time. And each teacher had an hour of office time where students could meet personally with them. For the hybrid schedule for our middle school, students whose last names were A to K came to school on Mondays and Thursdays. So they were present in the classroom. For students with last names L to Z, they were in class on Tuesdays and Fridays. The other days, everybody would, and then the other days they attended class through Zoom. And students who stayed home all the time, who were fully virtual, attended class through Zoom every day. And that's how we operated for the entire school year. We did have a 3-month period where we were fully virtual. In November, December, and January, case counts were too high to have class. So I was teaching 30-minute classes daily. So that was a little different for our schedule, but we spent three quarters of the school year teaching a hybrid model, and I was in the classroom daily. So,
yes.
And I would see about 100 children every day.
So yes, so the question is, so as a follow-up, yes, you divide the groups. How do you follow the process of learning? That's something that I wonder if I had to do it, if I had to do it in the future, how would I do that following the students' process of learning?
Well, the progress is tough because assessments and testing were difficult, because some students were in class but never took a test. And I would contact students about that, and sometimes they would reply, sometimes they would complete the test after school hours or during my office hours, and sometimes they just didn't do any. The let's see, I would say that the worst part of the instruction this year really was the assessment, because students had to hand in their work, and everything was done online this year. So I had to grade work through a learning management system that we call Canvas. So students would submit their work to Canvas. I would check it and grade it, or ask them where it is. So it was difficult to check progress through tests, but if students were showing up to class, it was informal assessment where they could respond to questions to the work that we were doing. And that would be the best way that they could show they were progressing with their acquisition of Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, Professor Greg teaches Spanish. That was also introduced last class, so they already knew. And therefore, yes, evaluation is a challenge also for virtual education, I think, in our case. And also the implementation is quite complex, since there might be students that all the time just fall down of the system. Like you don't catch them because you miss them in either online or in face-to-face. Just thinking about that, just thinking aloud. Okay, if I have any, I was thinking of something else, but it might come eventually. The second sentence, okay, you want to read? Anyone? Araceli?
The second, Miss,
Yes, this one, yes.
what is the most difficult area when using this strategy with children and a long time?
Well, and again, I'm glad I had the questions, because I found 4 areas where it was difficult. And like you said, with it being a long time of hybrid instruction, it was three quarters of our year was spent hybrid. The first thing was attendance. If a student didn't show up through Zoom, then they were missing class, and it was difficult to catch up, because if we practiced in class and they were not in class, then the next day they didn't know what we were talking about, or it was more difficult for them. So missing class was a big disadvantage. The other thing about attendance is, with the hybrid model, some students return to the classroom, and instead of being a fully virtual student, and at times then they would come to class and be in the classroom, but some days they would stay home and use Zoom. And it was difficult for attendance, because they were the ones choosing when they wanted to be in class. And that was a little frustrating, because they were not getting the best use of their classroom time. Because really, I would say that the best use of classroom time would have the student in class and not on Zoom. The second issue was with connectivity, with having adequate Wi-Fi and having a nice space to be a student. The school I work in made sure that all students had an iPad and that they had Wi-Fi. So no family was missing either of those things, but there were times when students still could not connect. And we have technology people who would go to houses and work on the problems, but then a student might miss class again because of Wi-Fi issues. And then some students had problems with Zoom. They would send me messages saying that they could not get into my Zoom classroom. And part of me thinks that sometimes that was an excuse where students maybe said, Zoom's not working today, sorry. And instead, the teachers started to figure out who was missing class more often. And sometimes students had to follow their parents' orders. Sometimes students missed class because they had to be with their parents and go somewhere. Again, we have no real power over that part of a kid being a kid. Classwork, a challenge in classwork. As I mentioned before, when we were in class, everything was done online with a learning management system. So if we worked on something, we worked on it together, and then they had to submit their work through an online system, and then I would look at their work and grade it, even if it's just to say thank you, and then I could see that they were doing the work. Some students did not hand in the work. They could even be in the classroom with us, and I could say, you have a minute, hand in your work, please. Again, it's motivation on the student's part, and it was more difficult with students via Zoom, even though the instruction was the same. You have a minute to hand in your work, please hand in your work. You will experience a delay with Zoom. With our school, I had to wait 2 seconds until I could accept answers from students. So sometimes students in the classroom would answer immediately, and I would still have to wait for 2 seconds to get answers from home. So I got used to that, but it's class will go slower because you have to wait for answers from students at home. And then participation. The students in class were more likely to raise their hand, give answers, and participate. Students at home, it depended on the student. Some students were shy. Some students were never on camera. Sometimes I didn't even know students were there because I would ask a student at home a question, no answer. And I would give them 2 or 3 chances, nothing. But I wouldn't remove the student from the class either, but because maybe they were there and they just could not answer because of circumstances at home. So I just took it, if a student was in the class, they were there. If they weren't going to participate, that's their choice. And lastly, as I talked about with testing, with Spanish, we could give a test, but there are students who were at home who cheated. They would use Google Translate. And we could tell because a student in their first year of Spanish, they would give back perfect work or work that was above what we practiced with them. So there are 4 Spanish teachers in my department, and we all agreed that we had to come up with tests that would not need students to really use Google Translate, but they weren't very challenging. So that there's a lack of real challenging material to test this year. But at the same time, we used what we had, and there were still students who struggled. They had problems with what we gave them for tests, but generally, if they were paying attention and attended class, they could do okay. And lastly, like I said about the testing, some students didn't hand in tests, so they got a 0 score. I could email parents and ask them to check the grade book online. And if they saw that a student had a 0, that meant that they didn't take the quiz, even though they were in class. But again, there's only so much we can do. And parents had a lot of work to do at home with their students who are virtual. So it was.
Yes,
So those are the 4 areas of difficulty.
yes, that's a very good. So I think there is a kind of relaxation, a relaxed attitude from homes. So they are allow more this lack of participation or lack of completion of tasks. But that's an attitude from the families who want this attitude to be a little bit more relaxed.
I would say there was a relaxed attitude, and then on the teachers' parts, we had to become a little more relaxed as well. So it was a combination of factors, but our district, our school had the attitude or the philosophy of this year is not going to be like any other year. So we managed.
Yes, exactly. That's what we're all doing. So just to clarify, Canvas is also a Moodle platform. We also have a Moodle platform at university, so we can upload a work there. But again, cheating on tests is something also professors at university have been thinking for a whole year how to avoid. Trying to control that is complex.
True.
Exactly. So next question, Genesis or Barbara. Barbara, is this one? Have you?
Hello, teacher. The question is, have you had to face complication in this modality? Which are they?
I think we yes, you already gave lots of complications.
And I can expand a little bit on the complications. With regards to grades, the grades were in an online grade book for parents to look at and for students to look at. I would put grades up when I would receive work from students. So I was very fast about keeping my grade book accurate so that students who cared about their work would be able to check their work. And then parents of other students could see that their students were missing work pretty much right away. So I never wanted students or parents to wonder what their grade was. So I updated that often. Sometimes students would not follow procedures. You use Moodle, you said, at the
Yes.
university?
Yes, a platform.
Moodle and Canvas were the same things where if the assignment was posted, then I had expected the assignment to be handed in at the proper assignment, within a deadline, a certain amount of time. Some students would email me their work, and I would then have to respond to the email and say, I can't give this credit until you upload it to Canvas. So some students would send me work, but then I said, this isn't the procedure, please follow the expectations. And for elementary school, is it the same teacher for the entire day, or are there different teachers during the daytime?
They have different, different teachers. At least the English teachers are different. Then they have math, Spanish language, and science. And sometimes they share teachers. I know that some of teachers teaching English teach also science.
Okay. I wasn't sure because at the elementary level here, it's usually one teacher all day for all the subjects. But for middle school and for Chilean elementary school, if you have different teachers, sometimes there will be different expectations. Each teacher has their format, and that's where our students had to follow maybe 6 different teachers in a day. And each teacher had things a little bit different in how to submit work or do work online. So that's a struggle or a complexity for a student, especially an elementary student. We are going to work on that at our level where we'll have a little more uniformity in our expectations for online work from students. Let's see. They are like the complications also end up with students for their math and for their English. What our school decided is that students who did 0 work in the year, they have to go to summer school. So there's students who have to attend class for 6 weeks now during our vacation to take lessons in math and English, because those are two things that our state of Pennsylvania, those are necessary. And if the students did nothing in math or English all year, they have to do the work now. If they don't do the work, then they will repeat their grade. So a 6th grade student who did 0 work will be in 6th grade in August also. So that was a decision that would happen in May. Our school said there are probably 36 students in each grade who need to go to school in the summer because they did no work, and they need to do it because they will not have the skills for next year's English or math. Spanish is kind of like math in that we practiced a lot of things, and a student who did 0 work in Spanish in 6th grade, in August, they're going to be in 7th grade. So they'll be in the next level of Spanish. We've practiced, and they will have zero experience. So they're pretty much already setting themselves up. They're ready to fail a class. And that is a consequence of not coming to class. And the only thing that we can do with the student who did no work is we can put them in a beginner class, and they would repeat the course, but they would have a little more information because it would prepare them for their next year as well. So there are some students who are going to show up in August. They will not be in 7th grade Spanish. They will be in 6th grade Spanish with a little more rigor or a little more work to do. So.
Right. That's surprising. So one of the questions was dedicated to this teaching of Spanish in the United States, and I said it's an important foreign language, if not a second language. And this called the attention of the students because we see things from the opposite, even when English is important from 5th grade onwards. Well, English is not given that importance. We know that some schools in the countryside mainly have, the rural area, have decided to quit teaching English just to reinforce Spanish and math, just because it's a mother tongue. But the next question is related to this teaching of Spanish in the United States, and especially through this methodology. Wants to read? Genesis, are you there? Javiera Labraña?
Me?
Yes.
Okay, Miss. Hello.
Hi.
The question is, how is motivation developed in students when they are learning Spanish through this methodology? How do you motivate children attending from home?
Well, with hybrid, it was difficult this year because in some ways for me, and this is my methodology in some ways, I like to use a lot of things in class. So talking is one part of it, but also, I don't know, also just using things to talk about is also motivating for students sometimes, because if I can give a t-shirt to a student in the classroom, we can talk about the shirt and a bunch of other things. This year with COVID, nobody touched anything. So it was all words and pictures in the classroom and at home. So that was a little difficult because sometimes it was not as motivating when there was nothing to hold. So that was a little difficult, but motivation, really, it was based on the fact that it's plain and simple. Nerds are the ones who did well. And it's the nerds who showed up and they worked. They didn't make excuses about not having a good iPad. They didn't make excuses about forgetting when class was or their schedule. You know, and again, I'm a nerd, but it was the kids who just were nerds. They would just come to class, do the work. And that was motivation for me. And with other students, if they weren't interested, they just weren't going to pretty much do a lot of work. They were more interested in making their Zoom backgrounds funny or just not paying attention. They were in class, but they didn't pay attention. And that's where hybrid is challenging, because I can't give things to students. I can involve them, but sometimes, again, they have to have the motivation themselves. They have to feel successful with practicing Spanish, because I know that Spanish can be difficult for some students, and others it's easy. But that's the one thing. But really, it's self-motivation on the student part. Let's see, the hybrid experience was better than when we were all virtual. I will say that because, again, in the classroom, a student can't hide. And sometimes the student who was at home on Zoom, who was also in the classroom, they understood the procedures better. They were more likely to participate because they knew they would be in class the next day. So that was one thing. And I wanted to include everybody. So I would take turns with a student in the room, and then I would work with a student at home and go back and forth and work with students one at a time. Because when we worked together, we worked together as a class. But I always wanted to include students at home because they could have answers that were perfectly good. And then another thing is that I would have a routine. And if anything, with a routine, students knew what was going to happen every class. It would be different material, different conversations, but we would start with warm-ups where students would work alone for 10 minutes. We would talk together. We would work together on a topic for the class, and then we would do classwork, writing, and talking through writing, and then we would play a game. And that would be 50 minutes of class time every class. So, you know, again, if they came, they knew it was going to happen. And like I said, with students in the classroom, they were more motivated if they knew what we were going to do. They were familiar with the routine.
Okay, yes. So I think we saw in some videos the recommendation of having a routine for online classes. So you still think completely virtual classes are more difficult than hybrid?
Well, in some ways, because it was more difficult because we were all separated, and sometimes there were a lot of faces. There would be 25 faces on the Zoom screen, and that was kind of difficult because I could still take care of students who raised their hand and participated, but sometimes tracking the students all virtually, was more difficult for me.
Yeah. No, yes, I recognize that. Yes, with 25 kids, yes, for sure. We have had some of these situations as well. I do not know whether we have 25, but some of the classes I observe with the students doing English practicum, they can reach up to 20 or a little bit more. And yes, then there are those that never participate, and you probably will never notice. Okay, the last question. Daniela, please.
Yes. How are the tools asked to teach Spanish by means of this methodology?
Okay, Paula, may I do a screen share now?
Yes, yes. Okay, wait a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to show are some things that I work with, and this is part of this is more or less part of how we would work in class. I see that you're using PowerPoint. Our school pretty much uses Google and a whole lot of Google. So pretty much for each of my classes, I would have a Google slide set up, and it would just run, allow them to see what they were doing for their practice on their own. And this is part of that routine I was talking about, because they knew that they would have their schedule for the class period or work that they had to do. This was for beginning Spanish students, so it was just a work with some small talk and talking through basic things every day. And then, like I said, with this is again part of the routine, and this is where including students at home and in the classroom was most successful, because it was practicing with the alphabet and playing hangman. So students would tell me what letter to put in, and then again, we could attend to, this was a student in class, Arturo was one of our students in class. And again, we had at least a relationship and a motivation where this class of students like to talk, and they like to engage and be challenged. And again, ¿por qué llora Arturo? Well, again, he's crying because it's the final class. You know, that was one of the students, and, you know, it was true, but at the same time, you know, it was for fun. And the same thing, we would, like I said, with conversation, I would use photos. Again, this is a photo of me and my brother. But I would use photos to talk through things with students, ask questions. Again, sometimes, again, for practice, what we were doing, I would ask students to tell me what to do, and I would type. So this would be more motivation for students to contribute to a discussion by telling me what to type, and then talking about maybe some of the other things that apply to the questions. Now this is a game website called Blookit. And Blookit is an interesting website that came up this year, and it's linked very much with Quizlet. Quizlet.com is a free site, and it's study vocabulary. And with this is how students could do their warm-up work. They could choose subjects to practice. If we had a class game together, we would play Quizlet live together. And the best thing about Quizlet is that Blookit uses Quizlet stuff. So it's just copying from one website to another. And then Blookit, the students liked quite a bit because Blookit had a variety of games, and it was individual work, but they would work sometimes together to steal from each other or to drive each other crazy, depending on the game. So in some ways, it was practice with vocabulary, but at least it gave them a way to interact with their classmates at home and in the classroom. And like I said, Canvas was our learning management system. And again,
we know
it-
that Educandos, yeah, we have the same. Yeah.
yeah. So
Nonsense. Yes, exactly. Nevertheless, I think I really criticize Moodle. I think it is too linear. It is not interactive. Though it has certain tools, still it's very fixed. But of course, students are very much got accustomed since last year. And this was something we were also talking at the conversation at a conference this morning with a colleague. And it's the preference sometimes the students have to rely on very traditional means of communication with testing. And for example, doing the test on a Word document and sending it via email. When we have so many other options to do tests, quizzes online, or use a Moodle platform, but the students try to be, since last year, very, very conservative. And the use of email, for example, is one of them, which is a very old tool, but I think with technology in education, we still do not go out of certain limitations and constraints. How do you feel? Well, I work with older students, but I think also little children, with little children in our schools, I have seen a more chaotic situation. They communicate a lot through WhatsApp, and their everyday class homework is done and sent via WhatsApp and by means of photo. Just they take a photo of their work done by hand and send it to the teacher. So I think we still need to go up the ladder of technology and the use of technology and the access to technology to many populations who are disadvantaged, that we really think of this hybrid possibility, and it's difficult to focus on it.
That's where hybrid can be challenging, because there are so many technological resources. But sometimes it can be overwhelming, because sometimes when there are too many choices, it's very difficult to figure out which one really is going to do the best for a kid. Or they have to have a million logins for different sites. And I know it's gotten easier with login with Google, and it does help. But again, sometimes for me personally, I like when I can give students options and say, find something that works for you. And if it's practice that we're doing in class, then it's good. But sometimes they choose to use something and it really doesn't link with what we're doing in class. So we're working on something for a test and they're practicing something else and ignoring the actual current topic.
Yes.
That can be challenging, but there's some ways when some material is out there, I tell students, find your own YouTube practice that you like, because I'm not going to tell you which one's the best, because you might like it, you might not.
Yes. Then autonomous work, you're mentioning this, and we have mentioned this with students as well. Their independence to find own materials to practice with. And something else, institutional support. And we were discussing this morning the same topic. So how important it is that the institution supports students with this technological access, because the university here did the same, had all the different appliances to connect to the internet, but some of them never worked. And so how much we need the support of an institution who's really there next to the student, next to the professor, to support with technological access. And sometimes we're just demanded to do the things, we're compelled to do the things, but we're not supported. So those are great topics, because some of the schools, the students are doing their practicum have this support with technology, but others are so isolated in the mountains that it's impossible to connect. So a bonus track, a question in Spanish. So we will test your Spanish level now. Who would like to ask a question in Spanish? They were really surprised at the importance Spanish has in your country. So any question or in relationship to teaching Spanish in the United States? Bárbara?
Yes. ¿Usted piensa que es difícil aprender español, or it's difficult to learn Spanish for a native person, the person that have a English like a language?
Puedo contestar en castellano, ¿no? Ok. Lo que pasa es que yo empecé con 13 años y no sabía nada de la lengua, porque tengo herencia inglesa alemana. Y acá, donde estoy en Pensilvania, hace 32 años, bueno, hace años, no había una presencia latina. Ahora sí, es que la comunidad puertorriqueña en la ciudad donde estoy es una ciudad pequeña, pero hay mucha gente puertorriqueña y muchos caribeños. Y ahora es que yo decidí, decidí en ser maestro, docente de castellano cuando tenía 16 años. Y aprendí con 4 años en high school y 4 años en la universidad. Y fui para España para mejorar en mi lenguaje. Y obvio, bueno, lo superé más o menos. Y empecé con 21 años a enseñar. Pero en serio es que la dedicación del estudiante de estar presente en clase es lo más importante. Y la metodología que empecé a usar en el 2006 fue un gran cambio para mí, porque antes había una lección práctica de verbos, gramática, etcétera, etcétera. Pero con el comienzo del 2006 empecé a hacer más preguntas, más uso de fotos, dibujos, más intercambio con los estudiantes, porque dejé de pensar en que hay un método correcto, pero no, hay muchas sendas para llegar a saber. Y bueno, con los 15 años de práctica, este año ha sido más difícil porque, bueno, es que hice lo mismo, es que había fotos, cómics, muchas preguntas para los chicos, pero sin el uso de animales de peluche, sin ropa para tirar a los chicos en clase, el elemento humano de tocar cosas se perdió. Y bueno, pero depende de la persona, porque yo tengo estudiantes que mantengo una relación de 20 años o más, y ellos hablan de cómo aprendí de mí y cómo usaba muchos gestos y había un juego a veces para saber qué decía. Ahora no quiero un misterio, quiero que los chicos sepan. Si yo digo algo que no entienden, deben pararme. Les digo en inglés, repito todo en castellano y listo, seguimos. Y ahora es la lección más importante, es que no quiero que no sepan lo que digo, es que ellos tienen el poder de pararme. Y
Claro.
bueno.
Sí, yo creo que hemos sido más condescendientes también en la educación, en todos. Nuestros profesores de inglés es en inglés y luego todo en español, por esto mismo. No quieren que los niños queden detrás, que los padres no entiendan lo que ellos están haciendo. Entonces todo está mediado por la lengua materna y entonces se va alejando ese propósito, ese objetivo de que fuera todo en inglés algún día. La enseñanza desde la educación básica aquí en el país. Entonces creo que eso es lo que más nos preocupa de esta educación virtual, es que sea todo quede claro, que sepan todo, que tengan acceso a todo. Y entonces se pierde quizá esa naturalidad de la que hablas, de enseñar con los elementos de la realidad y demás.
Y unos padres me hablaron porque obvio observaron las lecciones desde la casa, mirando al niño en clase y dicen, ok, ustedes hacen esto, se levantan, se mueven un poco y todos tienen que escuchar y contestar cuando es necesario. Pero no tengo miedo de hablar en inglés tampoco, porque para explicar algo rápido es más fácil que circunlocar. Porque, bueno, para mí tengo 50 minutos y no quiero elaborar en algo que puedo decir en inglés y listo. Y es una cosa que también tuve que cambiar en mi metodología, pero lo que prefiero es que cuando estamos en una lección, estamos enfocados en la lección, porque no quiero hablar en castellano y pararme para hacer un comentario en inglés, porque rompe el hechizo. Y a veces sí, es un hechizo de estar en una burbuja de lengua y no se rompe, que no se rompe la burbuja, pero cuando es necesario, bueno, se para, se explica, se sigue.
Thanks a lot. I think it's a great vision, a great overview. That languages are learned in more or less the same ways. We try to instill in them this idea that it depends a lot on them, their own motivation. They will be future teachers, and English for these students is as important as knowing all of the other subjects the basic school system, level, just because it opens a new door for their job possibilities. And so they have been developing this consciousness that it depends a lot on them, on how they, and the strategies they find for themselves to keep on practicing the language. And how important it is that even when we are apart, not on campus, speaking English probably for a longer period of time, it depends a lot more on them. And so, yes, it is also a great message. And probably, like teacher Greg, you will also be able to go to the US to practice English and learn more before teaching.
Anywhere. Sometimes it's really good. I will say it's more difficult sometimes now because WhatsApp, we can use our cell phones to chat with our friends anywhere in the world, which is true with me, with my friends in South America and Spain. But sometimes it's really tough to not want to speak English with the people right around you. But again, it takes motivation and being social.
Yes.
So it's
Yes, and on campus they try to have this burbuja, this bubble in which English was. So they tried to immerse them into English in the first year, but that of course has to change, and we are in a process of constant change. But nevertheless, they don't have to abandon that idea that they will speak English fluently one day and be able to teach it, and also travel and exchange and learn more. So it's a process. It's a lifelong learning process. You never stop.
I let my students who are the first year students who are 10 or 11 years old, my goal now, and sometimes I tell them that they can do more after 1 year of practice with me than I could after my first year. And it's because there's more talking, more interaction, and they don't know everything, but at the same time, their ears have been attuned. They get used to listening to Spanish, and so they can actually react a little better without thinking. And it's where it becomes unconscious reactions as we continue to add more stuff to them. I like to call it a snowball, la bola de nieve de lengua, que solo se engrandece.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good image. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for your time. So we will be finishing the class here. If you want to ask any other question, thank you for your time. We won't.
You're welcome.
Thank you and good luck in August when you have to come back again and face a new situation.
No virtual. No virtual, please.
Over. Yes, either or, because I think this hybrid will, yes.
It's challenging.
Probably we're going towards that future. Or it will work better with adults, probably with adults. Not,
True.
Not younger. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you,
thank
Greg.
you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Nice
Thank
to
you.
see
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Here.
Bye.
Okay, girls, so thank you for your participation. We have the photos I will share with you. We will share on the Instagram. And I hope...
Pero profesora ni siquiera nos avisó para poner
No.
cara de foto.
no es cara de foto, chica, no es cara de... Están todas lindas, todas lindas. Wonderful, wonderful to see you. And so now is you're in charge of, I will also have some main ideas from the talk, and I will share with you for your task, okay? So nice to see you. Big kiss. Big kiss.
Bye, Miss.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
See you.
Bye, Miss.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.